If you were one of those people that was saddened by the fact that Hyuga was nerfed in Standard and that you can no longer use Shiryuki in your deck, then don't worry, Bushiroad got your back, because you can now play your deck at full power in Premium.
Stand up! Vanguard!
Hey Cardfighters, welcome back to another extra episode of Cardfight Update. Today we've got some insane reviews as we got 2 new strides for the upcoming Premium Collection 2020, and people are losing their collective mind over these cards, and that's for obvious reasons as their skills are unheard of. And yeah, it's really unbelievable that Bushiroad actually printed these cards for their respective clans. So in this video we're gonna go over those 2 nuke strides, and I will analyze them as per usual, and I will also explain why people are losing their mind over them, and also explain if it's justified or not, because there's always 2 sides to the story. So without further ado, let's jump right into the first cards, and we start with a new Link Joker stride. This is Nebula Dragon Variant Dragon, and its ability is Auto and Vanguard Circle. When placed, cost, turn a card from your G-Zone face up, remove all of the markers on your opponent's circles, all of the protect from their opponent's hand, and this unit gets power plus 10k and critical plus 1 until the end of turn for each removed marker and protect. If there is not an actual marker, the additional rearguard circle disappears and the units there are also retired. People have been speculating about a marker destruction skill ever since Link Joker got support, and it wasn't luck. And now they actually done it. The Mad Lads actually done it and printed a card that does this. Now people are saying this card is broken as it allows you to get a lot of value and remove a lot of resources from your opponent's side of the field. And that is true. This is a very powerful stride if timed correctly. But there's also a different side of this card because it's a Link Joker stride that doesn't lock or anything that the archetype usually does with its stride. So it's a singleton card in an environment where it doesn't really support all the other things the clan wants to do. But that doesn't take away that this card isn't strong, because removing markers can be a lot of value. First off, against Protect, you're removing an actual card from their hand for free. You're flipping a G-Zone card and you're removing a card from your opponent's hand, and you gain additional power and crit. If you're up against an Exo clan, you're retiring potentially rearguards and you're removing their aggro potential, as most Exo decks nowadays are dependent on their Exo circles to push out a lot of attacks or aggro or whatever tempo play style they are incorporating in their deck. So this is a very good effect. But the main use of this card is that it counterplays one of Link Joker's main opposition. This is the perfect stride against Gold Paladin. Gold Paladin generates a lot of extra Exo circles, and sure, their Wonder Ezel was hit in Premium and they can no longer use the card, but still the Ezel Great Freeze themselves allows the clan to superiorize excessively and create multiple Exo circles. This card removes those, gives you extra value, but at the same time you remove the win condition of the Ezel player, as their ultima will effectively only be with 1 extra circle if they manage to rewrite. And probably, if you time this correctly, the Ezel player cannot even rewrite into a new Great Free to attain an extra Exo circle, meaning they only have 2 front row circles for the ultimate turn, which is a pretty weak in comparison what Gold Paladin used to do back in their heyday. So this allows Link Joker to fight one of their toughest matches, as Link Joker has 2 main problems in Premium: Neo Nectar with their tokens, and Gold Paladin with its Exo circles and its stride, which allows them to unlock everything. This card removes one of their problems, so that means there's a highly likely chance that Link Joker might actually resurface thanks to this card, as this won't be a go-to stride in every situation. It probably will be tagged in as a 1 or 2 of in G-Zone for the occurrence that it might be good. That maybe allows them to fight effectively in the meta against all the other decks that is performing quite well thanks to its inherent luck mechanic. So this, on the surface, might not be the most powerful stride, could actually have a lot of implications for the clan. If we want to try to break this stride, we can potentially do this, as the funny thing about this card is it removes protects. So at the same time, for a Force clan, the biggest problem was if they ride up to grade 3 after the protect player, meaning the protect player always has a PG in hand so they can block the Vanguard. In this case, you outright remove that advantage. So there is no longer that inherent advantage, and only if they have a normal PG in their hand, they can block your Vanguard swing naturally. So with the inherent crit and the extra power, if we combine this with the deleters engine, and notably the Gradle VR, you can delete your opponent's Vanguard, put them to 0 power, you get probably an additional 10k power, so you're sitting at a 38k base with double crit. Depending on what force marker you take, you can go for force 2, so you have triple crit. And because your opponent won't have a natural PG, they need to be able to draw into the normal PGs, there is a higher percentage that your Vanguard swing will hit. Because there is a 38k defense deficit. They need to guard with 40k for a 1 to patch if you do not boost it. Because your opponent's Vanguard is deleted and you're using the leaders, you can combine it with the VR given and be able to restand it. You could cheese out some instant kill situations here where you can shoot your opponent from 0 to 6 or just from 2 to 6 where you're playing like a very aggressive playstyle, and this card allows you to ram into them for the final push as you guarantee them to not have a extra generated PG if they're playing up against Protect. So this is an interesting card that opens up way more dynamics between certain matchups which were already established because of the nature of Force against Protect or Force against Exile and all the turbo playstyles. This is an interesting stride for that matter. We aren't completely certain what kind of impact it will have, but it could be big or it could be absolutely nothing. So we have to wait and see for that. But the biggest upset of these reveals was the next reveal card. As per hinted by the intro, we've got a stride for Murakumo. And it's pretty insane. As we got this stride, Ambush, Demon, Stealth, Beast, Noe, Dio. And Noe ability are Act on G-Zone. If you have 5 or more units with the same card name each, and your Vanguard is grade 3, cast Soulless 1, strike this card on your Vanguard circle from face down, and during the battle this unit attack this turn, your opponent can only call cards from hand to the Guardian circle and must call 5 or more cards at the same time. Alright, let's dissect that, because that is a mouthful. First off, Murakumo has a superior stride ability just like Gold Paladin has with Spare Cross Dragon. And in their case, they need to have 5 units with the same card name, and you need to be sitting in grade 3, which is logical. 5 units with the same card name might sound tough, but if you're familiar with standard Murakumo, there are going to be 2 cards that will come to mind. We have Mandala Lord, but that's quite resource heavy to attain 5 cards with the Mandala Lord name, or we can go the easy route and go with Hyuga. And Hyuga is basically, write it, counter plus 1, and all your units turn into Hyuga, and you also superior call unit, so it's even easier to flood the board to have enough units on the board to give your Vanguard's name. So you basically pay a counter blast, and then a soul blast, and you can stride. And because it doesn't restrict that your opponent also need to be grade 3, you can do this while your opponent is still grade 2. And that's gonna be big because of all the other effects this card has. As the second part of this skill forces your opponent to only guard from hand for the Vanguard attack. And this is important, it's only for the Vanguard attack. But they are forced to call cards from hand. So they cannot G-guard, but if they are sitting on grade 2, they already cannot G-guard. But if they are sitting in grade 3, they still can G-guard. They can superior guard cards from the bind zone, the drop zone, the damage zone, the deck. All those superior guard effects cannot work. It needs to be placed from hand. But then, if they want to place cards from hand, you have a ultimate battle doorway effect where they need to place 5 cards from hand. So if they want to PG your Vanguard, it will cost them 6 cards from hand. That's insane. This basically makes it impossible for your opponent to guard your Vanguard attack. Otherwise, they're wasting a ton of cards from hand to guard effectively against your Vanguard. So this will basically give you a free hit. But that's not the reason why this card is insane. It's mainly because of its following ability. As its second ability is Auto Vanguard Circle, when it attacks, cost turn a card from your G-Zone face up and stand all of your rearguards with the same card name as one of your rearguards. So effectively you already have a field with the same name as your Vanguard or with a same unit, so you can already stride this thing from the G-Zone without regarding any normal stride rules. So applying for its second ability is already inherently possible and you're already going to do that. So if it's your first grade 3 turn, you have 3 front row rearguard circles, meaning you will get 3 extra attacks. And if you do the following turn and you could rewrite, that's 4 extra free attacks you're generating. Yeah, that's nuts, because we can combine this just with the standard Hyuga build. And the Hyuga build was all about attaining insane amount of powers as they couldn't multi-tech. They traded off multi-tech potential for high-powered lanes. And now you can still play those high-powered lanes and then attain free multi-tech on top of that. What? And besides that, don't forget, Shiroyuki isn't restricted in Premium. So you can still use Shiroyuki with Hyuga. Sure, it is conflicting with the Soul Blast, but you could basically work around it. Another thing about this is, because it's Premium and not Standard, we have more cards to our disposal. And we can combine with other G-era cards, maybe a couple of Shadow Stitch abilities. Because Shadow Stitch isn't inherently powerful on its own unless you can force the ability off. But the best way to force the Shadow Stitch ability off if that unit can attack twice. And they can do that with this card. So your Shadow Stitch abilities will inherently become more threatening as you have twice the time of getting value out of those Shadow Stitch cards. So that's already pretty good. But another interesting thing is because this card turns any card face up in your G-Zone, it basically tells you that Murakumo will win always. 100% of the time on second stride. And the reason for that is they can, on the first stride, flip open the previous Premium Collection stride. And then the second time, they can do it again and they have 2 copies face up. That card states in the G-Zone, if a attack didn't hit, you can Soul Blast 1 and call that thing from the G-Zone to the rearguard circle. So what you effectively can do is swing with all your units, and at this point your opponent is definitely on 5 damage, or at 4 damage or whatever, and at some point they need to guard one of your attacks. And the moment they guard one of your attacks, you can activate the skill, call the stride unit onto the field, attack with it, and then from the point onward they need to guard every single attack. And what you can do, every time that stride unit is blocked, you can resolve the other stride unit in your G-Zone and keep cycling, calling them on top of each other, and you can keep cycling the attack for as long as you have soul left. And if we run the Shiroyuki support cards, we can build a lot of soul very quickly, so we can pump out like 5 or 6 attacks pretty easily. So there are some insane things that you can do with this card, what will make this card and Murakumo probably a meta-defining or a meta-contending deck. But there are some ways to conflict this card or fight against this card, because this card is not end-all be-all. Of course, the biggest thing about this card is that it can only work with Hyuga on a consistent basis. So if your opponent doesn't write into Hyuga and they cannot fetch it on a great free turn, the deck will most likely fall apart. And as soon as Murakumo doesn't have the generic Great Free Searcher yet, they don't have the increased consistency like most other builds. That's a big issue. Another thing about this build is that it needs the Counterblast. If you do not have the Counterblast to change all your units into a Hyuga, you cannot go into this thing. So the big thing is, of course, do not give the Hyuga player a Counterblast in the early game. Just only give them Counterblast if you are certain you can survive this turn, or you can probably kill him this specific turn. So there are ways to counterplay this specific build in the same way that we could counterplay Gold Paladin, or that we could counterplay Bermuda Triangle with Ange. There are ways to counterplay this. This isn't the end-all be-all, but this is definitely a very powerful stride that will redefine its clan in Premium, as in the past, they were revolved around the infinite loop strategy, and they could probably still incorporate it with this card, but they don't have to do that now. They can go all different directions. They can go a generic beatdown like what we saw with the token for Neo Nectar, but they can also maybe incorporate G-Era cards with the Shadow Stitch cards that might actually be very powerful in the fact that they could restand those units, so we get an extra potential benefit out of those effects. So, yeah, these strides, these reveals were pretty insane. Link Joker got a very annoying stride that is very typical for Link Joker that might or not actually be very good, as on the surface you could make an argument it's very powerful, and you can also make an argument it's not very powerful, but I think the implications of this card, the fact that this thing exists, will have bigger ripple effects through Link Joker, and probably ripple effects through the meta, as it allows Link Joker to perform better on a general skill, as it can remove one of their bad matchups. And for Murakumo, it basically is a very powerful stride that will basically test any player's ability to read a meta situation or read a matchup position, because this card wins games but at the same time, it's reliant that your opponent allows you to win those games. So yeah, I'm very excited about the future potential of the premium collection, because if we're starting to get more and more of these strides, it's back to 2019, guys, because it's gonna get as exciting as it was at that time. The first couple of cards might be underpowered in comparison to the rest of the set, or we are gonna see more and more of these crazy effects like the one we got from Murakumo, and maybe interesting aspects as the one for Link Joker, as I think cards that work in that retrospect are also pretty nice to have, as it makes some interesting situations occur in premium and might or not be actual meta viable, but not every card needs to be that. The only thing that I want now is, because Murakumo got this insane of a stride and Link Joker got an actual playable stride, I demand a playable, strong card for Narukami. And at least a good card for Gear Chronicle. Because if that's not the case, I'm gonna be pissed. Gear Chronicle got an actual usable card in the previous premium collection, but Narukami got shitted on the last one. So if they got shitted on in this one as well, it's not fun anymore. So please, Bushiroad, give Narukami some love and give them a new A as well, because we could use it. But that's basically everything for me today. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of these new cards for Murakumo and Link Joker, as they are quite a doozy and they bring up a lot of interesting debate, as there's way more to these cards than just the skill text on themselves. So let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. As always, this video has been brought to you by our lovely patrons over at patreon.com/Vanguard Insider. You guys are amazing. If you do want to support the channel or everything that's happening on the channel, then head over to patreon.com/Vanguard Insider and become a Patreon today. But with that said, I'm Mr. Timely, and I'll see you guys in the next one!